Hi everyone, and thanks for joining this session. My name is Christian Dobrev, and I'm the co-founder and Chief Partnerships Officer of the Football Business Academy. First of all, I would like to give a big shout out to Joao and the entire iWorkinSport team for setting up this great event. I don't know if all of you realize how lucky you are to be able to have this type of event, but at least speaking from my experience, back in 2005 when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to study, let's say I was lucky that Google already existed, because if it weren't for Google, I would never have heard of sports management courses. And so really thanks to Joao for bringing this opportunity to the world, to anyone interested in pursuing this a career path forward. Now, 2020 has been a very different year, let's put it mildly. And I have no doubt that for many of you, whether directly or indirectly, this pandemic at some point has caused you to do some introspection, to question some of your decisions, question your situation at this point in time. And if you're watching this video, then chances are is that at some point you had a realization, you had a moment. And it could have either been one in which said, okay, that's it. Like, whatever academic and professional background I have built up so far, great, but I want to transition to the sports industry. Or if you were already working in it, you may have realized that things are changing and that in order to give yourself the tools necessary to continue facing the challenges and opportunities that the industry is experiencing, that you better upskill yourself and improve your qualifications. Whichever two of the cases you think you fall under, I think everybody knows that the sports industry in general still needs more qualified professionals, and that education is one of the most effective pathways of achieving that goal. Now, having said that, I'm really glad that you're participating in this event, because I know that it represents a very important decision, this consideration of doing a master's. And that you probably still have some doubts you wanted to clarify. And this is entirely normal, because everybody knows that the sports industry is very appealing, but at the same time it's very competitive. And that competitiveness and that closed environment that it usually shows to the outside world is a factor of risk. And so you want to reduce that risk by getting the necessary information that will feed into your decision-making process. And so, for what it's worth, in that whole process, I also want you to make sure that you don't only use your passion for sports as your main reason for doing so, or your main selling point when you talk to the representatives present at this event today. Because passion alone isn't going to impress anyone. Presumably, everyone that's participating in this event and applying for these masters is very passionate about sports, otherwise they probably wouldn't do it. And so really try to reflect on what it is that makes you different, and make sure that you have a more substantiated way of expressing your motivation for pursuing one of these masters. Because at the end of the day, a lot of them are quite selective, and so if you're only going to say that you want to do this because you're passionate about sports, then chances are that you might not even make the cut. So really try to think about what is it going to be that makes you stand out, that will show you have a deeper underlying motivation and substantiated reason for pursuing this. At the same time, of course, don't be shy to ask the questions that you feel are important to you, because at the end of the day, that's why all these representatives are here today. And I think at the end of this event and at the end of this process, you probably come to realize which program is better catered to your specific needs, right? And so really try to use this opportunity to think about which program will give you the stepping stone and the environment that you need in order to pursue your dream. Now, as far as FBA candidates are concerned, we are very humbled and proud to frequently get phrases thrown around to the extent of, this is the best decision I've ever made, or the FBA master has changed my life. And so if football is also your main passion and your goal is not just to enter the sports industry, but the football industry specifically, then from our point of view, it makes all the sense in the world to focus your efforts into that specific domain. And because the football industry is so big and so complex, we in our master have focused everything around three key pillars. The whole value proposition of the FBA resolves around knowledge, network, and experience. And so the first one is knowledge, because what better than continuously exposing yourselves to the ins and outs of how this industry really works? What better to have a truly global faculty of industry experts who transmit that knowledge onto you, right? And so the learning and networking opportunities that result of this are compounded, and the FBA candidates are the one reaping the dividends. Now the second one, and I just mentioned it, is networking. If you've been following the iWorkinSport YouTube channel and interviews, or if you've spoken to some industry professionals already, I'm sure that time and again you've come to realize how often people emphasize the importance of networking. And so this is one of the FBA's key pillars as well. And the benefit of the FBA family having thousands of contacts in the football industry directly gets translated into making sure that all of the FBA candidates and alumni have access to the kind of contacts and introductions that they need in order to pursue certain opportunities, while at the same time giving them a platform through which they can improve their own networking capabilities. And now whether that's done through the SoccerX events that are part of the program, or the different workshops that we organize for our candidates, our idea there, our goal there is really to make sure that they themselves get more comfortable and better at networking, so that at the end they end up having their own, let's say, self-sufficient set of contacts on which they can rely on whenever they need help or can offer it. And then the third pillar is experience, and this is also a very important factor for many, which can make all the difference, and especially if you come from another industry, so if you haven't worked in the sports industry yet. But also it can be the case that you were already working in the sports industry, but maybe not in an environment which matches your ambitions and aspirations, right? So the strong industry contacts and partnerships that we have at the FBA really allow us to provide two very valuable pieces of experience to our candidates, which are the internships and the student business projects. And I'm going to get more into detail on that in just a minute. And so you see that our entire program and philosophy is built together with football industry experts who know what's necessary and what it takes, around the objective of maximizing your exposure to these three key pillars: knowledge, network, and experience. And so our program, the Professional Master in Football Business, is a one-year program which runs 2 times a year, in March and September. And it's always a one-year program, and it's divided into 4 modules. Now the first 2 modules are online, so you have online classes, you have 10 different courses, all taught by a football industry professional. And these topics can range from the global history of football and financial strategy in football, for example, all the way to sponsorship and women's football development. And so, as mentioned, all of our professors, they live this day in, day out. They know what they're talking about, and so they transmit that practical and comprehensive knowledge that you really need in order to really understand how the football industry works. And then in addition to that, we bring in different guest lecturers who also are from the football industry in order to give you different perspectives on certain topics. Now, the third model is the guaranteed internship, and this is often what really sparks the excitement of most of our applicants and candidates, because at the end of the day, they know it's difficult to get your foot in the door. And so internships at the FBA typically last about 3 months, And they are found by a meticulous process in which we really try to identify, on one hand, what are the skills and interests of our candidates, and on the other hand, what are the strategic needs and where are the opportunities within our partners and the industry network that we have. And then the fourth model, and the last one, is on campus. And here you have three things. First, you have another 5 courses, such as football governance or leadership. Then we also organize a number of field trips to a variety of football institutions, clubs, stadiums, which again represent an additional learning and networking opportunity because they're always accompanied by a series of high-level presentations by these senior experts. And so you learn from them, you get the network from them. And then throughout these 2 months, you also work on your student business project, which is essentially a group consulting project that you do on a strategic topic of interest to one of the FBA partners. So there you have it. This is how the FBA Master is structured, and it is this approach that has allowed so many FBA candidates already to find their way into the football industry, and we're really proud to see them working across a number of organizations and in a variety of departments and specialty areas around the world. So thank you for watching. I really hope you make the most of this event, and I kindly invite you to say hi at the FBA booth where we can follow up with any questions you may have about the FBA or our program. Thank you very much. Take care.